Thank you very much. I'm going to start with the COVID-19 cases over the weekend in Massachusetts. On Sunday, there were 1,139 confirmed cases, bringing our total in Massachusetts to 155,660. Can you guys hear me? Okay, to make sure. We had 22 new deaths reported yesterday, bringing the total deaths in Massachusetts to 9,788. Boston's numbers as of yesterday, we had 112 new cases of COVID-19, bringing our total in Boston to 20,607. We did not have a number for new deaths from the weekend, but as of Friday, our death total in Boston was 783 people. And as always, I want to just say to the folks that are families that are sick and suffering with family members for COVID-19, our thoughts and prayers are with you. And for those of families who've lost loved ones during this virus, our hearts go out to you. Our testing data we have for the week ending October 26th. The average number of Boston residents who were tested positive each day was 123. That's up from 109 from the previous 7-day total. The positive test rate was 7.8%, which held steady at the level for the last several days here. It's a hard week to focus on COVID-19 with all that's happening in our elections and here right now in Boston, the country. But we have to stay vigilant. The virus doesn't take a week off for elections, so neither can we do that. We have to keep wearing masks and face coverings, washing hands, keeping physical and distancing and social distancing from each other, and avoid gatherings, especially parties, large parties. We're asking everyone to do that because in the last several weeks here, we've seen increases in the COVID numbers, and really we want to continue to push those numbers down, get those numbers going in the other direction. And as I will continue to emphasize, we're asking people to get tested. We talked about it last week, the importance of getting tested. Our Get the Test Boston campaign we launched last week is going strong. 24 employer organizations have pledged and helped to encourage their workers get tested. We have continued to add free testing resources, especially in neighborhoods with the highest test cases. This week we have mobile testing sites at Jubilee Christian Church in Mattapan and Central Square Park in East Boston. Also, Tuesday and Friday, we'll have new sites at the New Hope Baptist Church on River Street in Hyde Park. Just a reminder to everyone, our mobile testing sites offer free testing to anyone, regardless of symptoms. So we're asking you, you have to sign up, but you get free testing with our mobile sites. In all, we have more than 30 sites all across the city of Boston right now. To find a map or hours or when you can get tested or information, go to boston.gov/coronavirus. This is elections, as we know, are tomorrow. This is a historic election for more than one reason. There's been tremendous interest in early vote and voting safety here in Boston and certainly throughout the country. We are committing to making sure that voting is safe and accessible. It's the cornerstone of our democracy and the right to self-determination that we believe in. So we're doing whatever it takes to protect your rights and your safe access to ballot boxes here in the city of Boston. The commitment of Boston voters is very impressive so far. Nearly 432,000 Bostonians have registered to vote in this election. That's up from 500,000 in 2016. 55,716 people have cast their ballots by early vote. In addition, as of yesterday, November 1st, 103,268 Bostonians have submitted a completed mail-in ballot that's here in City Hall. So far, a total of 159,000 Bostonians have cast a ballot in this year's election already. That's over 36.5% turnout before Election Day of our total registered voters. 4 years ago, our turnout was 66.75%. So it looks like we will at least meet, if not shatter, that record tomorrow with voting. I want to thank the Elections Commissioner, Commissioner Tavares, who's with us today, our election staff, and volunteers from the city departments and Boston's communities. This has been and continues to be a major undertaking. They have been working long hours under unique circumstances, processing over 192,000 mail-in ballot requests, taking a record number of early votes, using drop boxes and in person. They continue to work hard, counting ballots and preparing polling locations for tomorrow. I encourage everyone, if you have not voted yet, make a plan for it right now. If you have a mail-in ballot, and as you can see, there's still about 45,000 mail-in ballots that have not been returned yet, I encourage you to complete it today and to place it in one of our 17 drop boxes around the city of Boston. Those drop boxes are open through 8 o'clock tomorrow night. We will be emptying them several times between now and Election Day. To find where a drop box is in your neighborhood, you can call 311, the Elections Department, but I encourage you, if you can, go to boston.gov/elections. We will accept ballots that arrive in the mail by Friday if they are postmarked by tomorrow. So my recommendation is, rather than throwing the mail today, if you can drop it off at a drop box, that would be much more efficient and better for you. A reminder, you cannot submit a mail-in ballot at an in-person polling location tomorrow. So if you have not mailed your ballot and you bring it to the location tomorrow, you can't drop it off, but what you have to do, you'll be asked to vote in person. So you'll have to wait in line and vote in person tomorrow to do that. You can drop it off at a drop box location if you'd like, or you can, if you're at the polling location, you can vote in person. The poll workers will help ensure that your mail-in ballot is discarded at that point. So if you go in person, you hand them the ballot, they'll take care of the rest. Voting in person tomorrow. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. We have 225 precincts in the city of Boston. In vast majorities, you will vote at your usual voting location. 20 polling locations have changed. They were different in the primary, and they're also going to be different in the final. They're the same ones that were in the primary, but we had to change 20 locations because the voting locations were in senior buildings and other sensitive locations, so we had to move those to nearby sites. Voters have gotten many notices on that, and when you go to vote tomorrow, if you happen to go to your old location and you see that there's no voting there, there will be a sign there directing you to the new location. Ballots will be available tomorrow in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Vietnamese, the actual physical ballot. Poll workers will be available to help speakers of those languages, as well as Haitian Creole, Cabo Verdean, Russian, and Portuguese. To find polling places, or if you have any other concerns or questions about voting tomorrow, you can go to boston.gov/elections. Tomorrow we'll have a dedicated voter hotline for any questions or concerns that arise. It's 617-635-VOTE, 617-635-VOTE, or that is 617-635-8683. COVID safety at the polling locations tomorrow. Every polling location is set up to follow the COVID safety guidelines and provide access to people with disabilities. These sites are prepared for physical distancing with clear signage and floor markings. We're asking you to follow them. All poll workers are issued PPE, including face shields, masks, gloves, disinfectant, and hand sanitizer. Cleaning will take place at each site several times throughout the day, so we'll be constantly washing down sites in physically and commonly touched areas, if there are any. When you do go to vote, remember, you need to wear a mask or a well-made face coverings. Make sure it's covering both of your mouth and your nose. I'm asking people, don't try and make a political statement tomorrow by going in to vote without a mask. I'm asking you to wear a mask. Have the courtesy for the poll workers, have the courtesy for the people around you, the people in line, the families that are coming there, people that are coming to vote. We want to make sure everyone has a mask on tomorrow when you come vote. Remember to be respectful and patient tomorrow. Some locations might have long lines. We're asking you to be patient with the poll workers, the volunteers. These are trained and dedicated individuals who are working tomorrow, but we're asking you to be patient as you move forward. Voter safety and election integrity. We have always treated elections with the utmost seriousness here in the city of Boston. We follow strict protocols to protect the integrity of your vote and our democratic process. As with every election, a police officer will be stationed at every polling location inside. The police are there to protect the ability of residents to exercise their right. We are monitoring conversations across the country about potential voter intimidation at polls. We do not have any information here about any threats in Boston. The Commissioner is going to talk in a minute a little more about election security tomorrow. but I want to make it clear that voter intimidation is against the law and it won't be tolerated. If you're in front of your polling location and you're campaigning on behalf of a candidate, we're asking you to respect the views of people that might come in that might have a difference of opinion than you do. Also, I'm asking voters to respect the views of the people that might be standing there with a different candidate tomorrow. Respect their opinion as well. Post-election safety, there's a great deal of tension around the election, more than I've ever seen or ever felt in my lifetime. Much of it's anticipation of the results of the presidential election. Because of COVID, that process has been difficult and certainly more challenging. Many jurisdictions, including ours, will be counting mail-in absentee ballots for several days. But I want to make it clear that mail-in ballots do not fundamentally change the process or the cause of the problem. They are handled like traditional absentee ballots. That's how we've always counted the votes of the military members and those people that are voting from overseas or out of state. And the process of counting and certifying election results always takes a number of days before the election. It always does, a few days after the election. Tomorrow night, we'll be posting unofficial results on boston.gov as usual, like we always do. But we won't have all of the mail-in ballots counted for several days. The similar process is taking place nationally. We should not be surprised if we don't hear a clear national result tomorrow night or Wednesday morning or for several days. That does not mean that the voting process is broken or compromised in any way. This is normal. In this particular year, with the number, it seems like we're going to be setting a record in the country for turnout for a national election. If you are following the results in other states, as most of us will be, I advise everyone to be prepared for the process to take some time. I ask everyone to remain calm, practice self-care, and focus what we can do here in Boston to set a good example and a national example. I'm also asking everyone to think through how you'll react to the results. Whether we like the results or not, there will be strong emotions on all sides tomorrow. It's okay to have emotions. There's a lot at stake. But we must take care of ourselves, our families, our communities, and we must respond peacefully. You can make your voices heard at the ballot box, and you can express your opinion in public as well. These are both protected rights that we have, and the Boston Police Department is going to be out to protect your rights. They'll have resources in place to keep the public safe during the election process and beyond it. I'm just asking everyone, please, respect the right of others to have an opinion, and respect your city and your community as we move forward over the next few days. If you feel the need to speak out directly, do it safely and be constructively. Be aware of your surroundings, wear a mask, physical social distancing, and communicate respectfully. I also urge you to rely on trusted sources of information. For information about our election, follow the Secretary of State's office or our election department websites. If it's about public safety, listen to what the city and our public safety agencies are putting out on our sites. Call 311 if you have any concerns, including your own mental health concerns. Call 911 if you see anyone in a dangerous situation. If you're concerned about what's happening nationally, don't react to social media. There are bad actors out there who want to use social media to sow fear and disrupt the process of our election. Keep that in mind when you read something inflammatory. You don't have to react or share the information. We're asking you to continue to check with trusted media outlets. In front of me, you don't see it at home, and in front of me, every TV station is here and the papers are here. These are the folks. Go on their websites, follow their news. They're going to give you the most reliable news up to date. They're also going to be covering the news nationally. So if you have concerns, go to our own City of Boston news people websites to find out exactly what the news is out in the country. The bottom line is that as Bostonians, as Americans, we believe in free and fair elections. Every vote must be counted, and the will of the people must prevail. That's what we believe in here in Boston, and that's what we're carrying out here in Boston. And we've been doing it for now, quite honestly, the last 4 or 5 months through the election process. We have been in conversations with the civil liberties advocates, and including the ACLU. We've been in conversations with our immigrant communities and about all of their concerns. We are prepared to support all of our residents and protect your rights, whatever happens with the election tomorrow night. This same commitment to free and fair elections is what we must have all across the United States of America tomorrow. I call on every elected official at every level of government to support that fundamental principle of our democracy. What I'd like to do now is turn the floor over to Commissioner Gross, and then we'll come back for questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, everyone. God bless everyone during this international pandemic. I know it's tough on everyone, but we're going to see this through together. Now, in regards to the election, the presidential election, we want you to be comfortable in the fact that the Boston Police Department will cover all of the poll sites. According to city ordinances, police officers are to be in the poll sites as well. We want everyone to know in the neighborhoods that we also have coverage for the neighborhoods, places of worship, schools, hospitals, that you will see us out there. Also, it's important to note that we're working hand in hand, thank you, Mayor Walsh, with the governor, lieutenant governor, Secretary of Public Safety, and Undersecretary, state, local, and federal law enforcement entities, just for the purpose of ensuring that everybody has the ability to exercise their right to vote freely. There's nothing more important than communication at this time to see if there's any credible threats to anyone exercising their rights to vote freely. That communication will be held in conjunction with the aforementioned, as well as the State Police Fusion Center and the Boston Police Fusion Center. As well, we're relying heavily on the most important folks that can contribute to safety. That's you. That's the voters. That's the people of this city. Don't forget, everything began here, even the whole voting process after we became a free nation. We need your eyes and ears. If you see something, say something. If something doesn't seem right to you, let us know. So I'm going to give you a number where you can contact us anonymously, 1-800-494-TIPS. It's also important to note that people do have a right to vote freely, without intimidation, without threats, or an overwhelming show of force. So even though we're working together in partnership, you will not see an overwhelming presence of police officers. We don't want anyone to say that they're being intimidated by police presence in this city or across our great Commonwealth. So just know that we are working in conjunction with each other. The public is the most important for safety measures because there's much more many voters than there are police officers, and we need your eyes and ears. So if you have any hesitation or reservation about trouble being out there, just know this whole Commonwealth of law enforcement, state, local, and federal, will be working together, as well as the DA and the U.S. Attorney and FBI. Thank you.
Any questions? No, a couple of businesses have reached out to me. I've heard some business owners decided to board up their windows out of an abundance of caution. We have no reason to believe, as the Commissioner just said and I mentioned earlier, that there's cause for concern. Certainly, we are all cautiously optimistic that the election day will be incident-free. But we want to encourage residents, if you see something out of the ordinary, call 311. I just think that there's a lot of tension right now in our country between, COVID, the entire year, for the most part, all of the undercurrent of systemic racism and what's happening there, and now you have a presidential election that's certainly been at the forefront of a lot of people's mind for a long time. And watching what's happening around the country, I think businesses are taking precautions. Yeah, I'll have the commissioner address that. I don't think tomorrow is election day, so I think depending on what happens in the following days, let me let the commissioner talk about that.
Great question. Definitely allows me the opportunity to educate folks again about what I alluded to early. You are not going to see an overwhelming presence of police or our partners, state, local, and federally. Every election, you have police officers at the poll. But we know this is going to be one of the most contentious presidential elections in most recent times. With that being said, we do have assets in place. If things do go to the side of civil unrest or violent protests, that we're still going to protect the city. So what's important to know is this: not an overwhelming presence of police officers. We don't want anyone to feel intimidated, okay? But along with you out there, you're going to be our eyes and ears, and we do have assets in place if they're needed.
2 12-hour shifts so that half the force will be on all day.
So, part of preparedness is this: never let the bad guys know what you're doing, because they sure as heaven don't care about us. So with that being said, each and every hour of the day will be covered by a staffing level that will accommodate calls to service, protect our neighborhoods, our businesses, and definitely our voting polls. That time frame will be today, tomorrow, and the days after, until we have the results of the election.
Does that mean extra patrols, or can you speak to that?
If extra patrols are needed, we have the assets to do so. Again, I'm not trying to be facetious or elusive, but know this: there are people hell-bent on disrupting our constitutional rights to vote freely. And they definitely want to know how much staffing I have, where I'm going to have officers, and the times we're going to be there. So guess what? We have the whole Commonwealth on our side, so we'll all be out there.
But is there going to be a full call?
We'll have adequate staffing to accommodate, again, the calls of service and to service, to ensure our neighborhoods that we're all going to be there. We'll be at the voting polls. And if people wish to protest and exercise their First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully. Use your voices of logic, not the ignorance of destruction. But if that takes place, again, respectfully, we'll have our people in place.
Have you or Mayor Walsh been in touch with Governor Baker in regards to security, asking for help from the National Guard or any other supplemental security?
Yeah, I talked to the governor yesterday. We're going to talk more later on today. Again, let's not go to the negative of this. The last couple of questions, no offense to your reporters. I mean, we're already talking about demonstrations and protests and concerns. Like, I'm not going there today. We have an election tomorrow. We're asking everyone to come out and vote, exercise your right, and then we'll be prepared for whatever happens after the election. And you know, it's not about the National Guard. The story tomorrow in the newspapers and on TV should be, go out and vote. 36% of all registered Bostonians have voted so far. The number that voted 4 years ago was 66%. We want to get everyone out to vote, so we should be encouraging people to go out and vote. If you're not happy with the direction of this country, go out and vote. If you're happy with the direction of this country, go out and vote. If you want to see change, go out and vote. If you want to keep the same thing we have now, go out and vote. That's what the message should be today, and that's what I want to focus on. To the public, tomorrow I don't think we'll have demonstrations in Boston. We shouldn't have demonstrations in Boston. Tomorrow we should be getting people out to go vote at the polls. And then tomorrow night, after the election, I'll stand up here on Wednesday, and you can ask me all those questions about National Guard and where we're going, and we'll figure out where we are at that point in time. Yeah, I'm not sure if the governor announced yet. I know he's going to have a press conference at 1 o'clock today where he's going to make some announcements. We talked yesterday. We're going to talk again today. Friday, my chief of Health and Human Services, Marty Martinez, talked about the need potentially of rolling back restaurants in the city of Boston, the need for potentially having to roll back gatherings. We don't want to go there. And as I talk about these numbers, our 5-day average has gone from 109 10 days ago to 121 now. Before we take drastic measures to shut everything down, we have to try and control this virus. So I know the governor's going to be announcing some recommendations today. We're going to talk after this just to finalize it, but what he's announcing today I support wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to vote.